Welcome back to Eternal Sonata for Chapter 3 Fantasie-Impromptu, another one of the pieces. So like I mentioned, let's take control, well, and see what happens on the group that's led by Allegretto, and where they ended up.
In terms of the chapter names, are they all just, you know, named after pieces that Frederick Chopin made?
Yes.
Okay, I mean, I'll admit, are they related story-wise, or is it literally just...
Yeah, and guess what, Jova? A small time skip.
Oh, goody.
Oh,
apparently these people have been washed ashore onto these swamps, onto a swamp, and they just stuck here for 4 days.
I'm sure they're doing
just
fine.
I'm just gonna say this right now about the game story. It's one thing when you know you have a story.
Sorry, Jova. By the second cutscene where in the entire game where Acro is present. Keep the tab.
Oh, Acro,
okay,
he's
Jazz,
Polka's pet, right?
Yeah.
What's the name of that river we fell
into
back
Jova.
there?
Okay, look, Gabe.
Fusion River.
It's one thing to have a story, but reminder, you are making a story based around Frederick Chopin, who, much as I hate to admit, is kind of niche when it comes to typical musician know-how. Maybe you might want to have, like, the ultra bit of effort in it. Like, again, I'm not saying that, you know, this would be excused even for a better-known composer, but for a game that is centering around Chopin, one of the lesser-known composers, the story doesn't seem to really be doing that much to, you know, remind us of the fact, or even center around. I mean, sure, we get the trivia.
I think it's one of the points, but it will become clear later on, in particular at the end of the game. For now, this is basically the start of the second third, kind of like of the game.
Sure, yeah.
By the way, Jova, guess what? Humanity is evil.
You know, we staved off this stuff. Why are we gonna do this now?
There should be a small
you don't need to tell us that, game. We already know this.
I mean, you know, the game was being subtle enough with it. Why? Was Frederick Chopin distrusting of people in general?
Kinda. It was a bit antisocial, remember, artist.
The problem, Joe, is that your RPG writer...
Yeah, guess what? Also, Jova, Tuba is gone, dead.
So,
we'll never see him again because he's dead.
Let me get this straight. Tuba dies, but they don't. I mean, maybe he had wounds?
He's actually, once again, what's being genre savvy pretty much sums up how an idiot
What shall we do, my lord?
Wait?
Oh well, all we need to do is find the glowing agogos.
Yeah, so?
This just proves how worthless Tuba really was.
Never mind the fact that...
I feel more sorry for the bridge.
Fuck you then.
That behemoth's weight.
Get it? Because it was fat.
So basically, he's all... Oh well, I mean, there goes any means of finding the glowing agogos. Let's go back to find the glowing agogos. That's the thing, Jova. Waltz is like it's as a kind of like a schedule of plans stacked together. It uses a minor inconvenience.
So what he's saying, Teo, is that it was a pretty mighty big loss. Yeah.
Anyway, this One Piece...
Fuck that movie.
This One Piece, as a dungeon. It's not that bad or long, it's just fair. I don't really like it in general because, you know, it's similar to sewer levels. It's just, usually swamp levels are there just to drag you about. Don't mind this cutscene, it's just for seeing that the girls have... You know, have their different tastes, like Clavis.
The girls don't want to wet their clothes.
No, Clavis apparently. Falsetto is like, well, that's not really a problem, but, you know,
it's just water, bitch.
Well, it's swampy.
It can't hurt you.
I guess it's because it's
the punchline. Take notice of what Viola is doing because that's the punchline, basically. Because Falsetto and Clavis are just arguing.
All right, who's Falsetto again?
The short hair one.
No, I know that. I mean, voice-wise.
Sure, right.
Whatever, it's just... There you go, Viola is just like, fuck this, stop
exactly.
arguing.
Come on, you two, let's go.
Oh wait, sure, it was Viola.
Yeah, that was shit. Whatever, point being, Viola is the voice of reason for this. Less arguing, more action.
Sure.
I don't even know why this I don't even know why this cutscene is there. It doesn't really add that much. It's the only one we get for this dungeon.
It's weird because there's no, the punchline is way too weak to be worth making a cutscene over. That I would have cut that out. Honestly.
Anyway, time to since now Clavis, Falsetto, and Jazz are playable along the party. Let me show how they work just a bit. Clavis is a decent healer, and she shoots a rapier. Jazz is fantastic because while he's low...
Oh my god, he's got an instrumental Buster Sword!
So he's the Galdo of the group.
Pretty much. His sword basically is so powerful that with each attack does 2 times the damage. Like literally, it's 2 digits, 2 series of digits instead of just 1. So it's perfect for group of enemies making a shit ton of combos. Falsetto is your typical JRPG monk. She fights barefisted. She's very fast and has medium power, but this compensates with a bit of a weak defense. She's not a complete glass cannon though, because her HPs tend to be in the middle, in the medium side of things.
So I see this is one of those cases where you're pretty much okay. The person who you play as in the overworld, I guess, is always preset.
Yes, it's set around the leader of a group. In this case, it's Allegretto. In the case of Polka's team, it will be Polka.
Seems a bit. I'll admit, it seems a bit weird, seeing as how like, well, he's not. I mean, you know, he's not part of the roster you chose, so. I mean, and they clearly do have, you know, sprites or, you know, models that could go in the overworld stuff. I mean, it's not a deal breaker,
that's the thing, Joe. This is kind of a throwback because a lot of old RPGs use this mentality, like say Cloud, the pocket dimension thing. Well, even though technically Cloud was the obligatory party member.
Cloud was like always, you know, in the battlefield though. It's like, well, here.
Well, regardless, a lot of JRPGs actually had that kind of thing. But that's the thing, I don't really think this was a thing that was, you know, needed to get back. It feels more like just simple lazy.
Yeah, I do say this is sort of an issue with this game. It does feel like it tries to do quote-unquote throwback-ish stuff, a bit unnecessarily.
I don't think so, this was intentional. I think really this was literally just cutting corners.
Well, that's what it falls under. I mean, hence why I said throwbacks in quotes or whatnot. Like, well, it could have been intentional or unintentional because of laziness. Regardless, though, it is... Okay, it's not the worst thing, but again, there's so many things about this game and its story in particular that do feel like there are these unnecessary bouts of laziness or actually intentional techniques. And they kind of clash with each other. Also, there's a snow crustacean in the middle of a swamp. Why?
Because this is common in anime JRPGs, Joe. A lot of times the monster placement and the overall, I guess Japanese don't actually do research in terms of environments. I don't know.
I mean, is there an actual? Oh, there's a fish. What's this guy doing here?
Yeah.
He's trying to toughen himself up or something. He's going to dry all his scales at this rate.
It's part of that side quest where you give items and receive ones, but I'm not gonna bother, just showcase the beat here.
Well, I guess that fish is going to die.
But no, Jova, to answer your question, just because it's azure, light blue, it's not ice themed.
No.
The ice
I'm going
was
off of the fact that one of the attacks was literally called
It was Falsetto's attack.
Oh wait, no. I mean, one of the moves was literally called Snow Claw, which I assume came from.
No, it was Falsetto's. Remember, all the characters have elemental attacks.
So she has an elemental attack.
They do not impact on the game stats, like there are no elemental resistance or weaknesses of any kind. They're just flashy. They determine the flashiness of the attack.
So she literally has an attack called Snow Claw. You can see why I would have thought that the blue crustacean was the one who did that move.
Jazz falls particularly ill of this because he has a shit ton of things like plasma chains, the heat blade, maelstrom,
I mean, if you're gonna come up with all these different moves...
TV Trump says that he won the jackpot at Superpower Lottery, basically.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if in a lot of regards, Jazz could serve as a protagonist.
Remember, he represents Chopin's power fantasy, so obviously he's disgustingly OP.
You know, I'll admit, the members here are kind of the members of the group I prefer more. Yes, that means I don't even prefer Chopin himself, but that's for reasons. But I'll admit, these particular 5 here are probably my favorite members on the party.
Let's just stay here for the night.
Contrary reason, we need to stay for that.
Set out again.
We've barely been going for a few minutes. I mean, look, I get that, you know, game time differs, some stuff and whatnot. But again, it feels like the duration wasn't even that long. Like, we literally just got up and out of the dungeon, and yet now we're already done. Like maybe
it's like to be fair, Joe, but at least the dungeons still are longer than Fantasie-Impromptu. The Fantasie-Impromptu dungeons are over before you even realize it.
Now it's time for a little talk between Viola, Allegretto, and Jazz.
Andantino's fearless leader's been hiding.
Yeah, the main reason I bring up is like, well, at least in Fantasie-Impromptu they don't. Well, okay, sometimes they did, but for the most part in Fantasie-Impromptu it was like you did a dungeon and then boop 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 boop.
Yeah, there's the jingle and it's already night.
Looking after my goats, you were making plans and
whereas
doing
in
things
here,
to change
again,
the
this
world.
is the JRPG in the sense
ashamed
like, well,
I
we're
didn't
going
act as
over
soon
a
as I knew
distance
something
or
was wrong.
whatnot. You're like, well, whereas in Fantasie-Impromptu you literally just popped over from places. Here, the story, well, the gameplay kind of conveys part of its story in the distance a character goes across, since it's rather linear.
We're the ones who could learn something from you.
So who voices
The
Jazz?
common people. DC Douglas.
Ah, nice.
Basically Wesker from Resident Evil.
Of course.
Allegretto, what are you doing?
Let me guess, he's worried about beat.
Too, Allegretto?
No, more
This
like
area
Polka.
gets kind of cool at night, so
Remember,
it's
the
nice.
shipping has already started, so...
I could have,
What's
you know,
bothering you,
I
Allegretto?
could have sworn that Allegretto and Beat were
I know
brothers,
what
but
it
I guess
is.
they really
I
aren't.
bet you're thinking about Polka, right?
Well, to look at it this way, at least they're the same age.
Yeah.
That's
hey,
a-
Pedro, I bet you, what was the phrase? I bet you're thinking how much you wanna beep to be.
People that attacked us? I get the feeling
Anyway,
they thought we were part of
Allegretto is
Andantino.
putting the pieces together, understanding what's going on with the situation we felt in.
Do they know what Andantino does?
Yeah, they got explained by Jazz. Yeah, Allegretto
Hey,
is...
he looks like someone in authority around here.
Yeah, Allegretto was
You're
a bit
right, he
surprised by the
does.
fact that we
Let's
just
go
got
ask him if
attacked
he
by
can
two
get us
balls
an audience with
incompetence.
Count Waltz.
So basically, he's thinking that the same thing that Tuba was thinking at the moment, that we got mistook by Andantinos. But that's the thing, that means that Forte knew that Andantino was coming. So, how?
So we have a spy amidst us.
Oh, goody! One of
You have
those
a
good old
point.
JRPG.
Yeah,
tropes.
remember,
matter what
Jova,
they
you and
might
she
say
already
about
placed your
Count
bets.
Waltz.
Right.
Even he wouldn't give orders to kill ordinary citizens who were just coming to visit him.
Are we sure? He seems to be portrayed as rather crazy, and that's usually a lazy writing ploy that writers
That
use
guy
to
sounded
excuse
like he knew that
stupidity.
someone was supposed to be showing up at that time.
But I
And he
digress.
was waiting for them.
Fine.
Jazz, it sounds like you might have an information leak.
Oh, great. A leak.
Just don't plan the next Smash
Yeah.
Bros.
It's possible you've got a spy working.
You don't know what you're getting into.
This just in.
Allegretto, how do you know Chopin
The
isn't
only ones
the
who knew about
spy?
that mission.
Well, he wasn't working for
Because
Andantino in the
Chopin's
first
not
place.
affiliated
No,
with
well, remember, Jova, Frederick is the one that the characters know the least, so
Well,
I'm arguing he would be the first suspect.
well, the thing is, like, well, then wouldn't the members of Andantino have recognized him? Because it's not like
Yeah.
they were trying to hide.
The
fact that
spy
they're
needs to be a member of
Andantino.
Andantino in order to know
I
the
guess,
plans
yeah.
and everything.
Especially since Jazz is the leader of Andantino, so... Kind of makes sense. Speaking of which, do we ever get to see
hello
any
there.
other members
Are
of
you folks
Andantino?
guests?
Sorry, can you repeat that, Jova?
Do we ever get to see any other members of Andantino? This
Yes, in
big
fact,
revolution?
that's the plan. We're returning to the base, basically,
Neat.
through this.
Yet another one that has a coat hanger jammed up his spine.
Don't you see he's looking for Mr. Squeakers?
Again, another one of those people in need for an item.
I have to wonder,
Go to
is there
the
some...
Locarium! That place is poison to the core.
I gotta wonder, is there like some big payoff for that long-running side quest where you exchange an item for an item for
Items.
an item?
You get powerful items.
Well, I
but
gotta
don't
wonder
need
though
them.
if like, well, you go probably near the end of the game, there's like the final end to this entire trail.
He's asking if this is kind of like the trade quests in the Zelda games.
Yeah, like if
No.
there's a big payoff at the end.
No. Anyway, time for another favorite of everyone who plays RPGs, Poison Dungeon.
Oh,
We reached the
great.
town of Andante just after these
Whoa!
woods.
Frame rate cutscene much?
A bit.
We're
yeah.
finally back home.
Are we
Fortunately,
really?
the one in Ninokuni was fine because we had the float spell.
I mean, you know, honestly,
Basically, this was a normal forest, but ever since Mount Rock has been dug by Forte. The water has been poisoned and has altered the forest into this state that you're seeing right now.
Of course it has. Just
This
by
dungeon
mining.
is annoying. Very annoying. Every encounter literally starts with your character with the poison status effect. Unless the only way to prevent this is to have accessories that prevent this debuff. And by this point of the game, normally you don't really have them.
Joy.
Now the monsters themselves are not really that bad. No?
I'm guessing you already have them? Though?
Yeah, I had the equivalent of a rip, so there's not really a problem with that. But I just want to put it in perspective for someone who plays the game normally, in that case. The monsters themselves are not really that bad. The worst thing that happens are these jellyfish fungi creatures that are a bit sponges, not that much, but just kind of a bit. But the way they attack is very not really impactful to you. Sometimes they don't even move at all.
I don't know.
The AI programming for the monsters sometimes is really weird in how they behave. Go ahead, Joe.
It's weird. Something about Falsetto's body structure reminds me of Chun-Li for some reason.
Well,
that
she's
and
a
the
martial
outfit.
artist, so
The
obviously.
outfit too has that long draping bit of the coat.
She's the traditional JRPG monk, bare-fisted, thin dress in order for maximizing the agility and everything. Although she still has some weird things like those ornaments on her shoe.
So essentially, the first time playing this, you're constantly losing health, I'm guessing.
Not while walking, only in battles. Poison works a bit more mercifully than in other games. You lose a set number of HP at the beginning of your turn. So basically, as long as you have something to recover your effect, you're good to go. Or in this case, use Claves because she's a healer and she has a healing attack that's really useful as a light attack.
Oh, let me guess. Healing attack meaning that she drains from the enemy and gives health back.
No. She literally has a healing spell, kind of like the unicorn attack.
Okay, so
I'm more
when you
amazed.
call it a healing attack, I usually think of something like Drain, Mega Drain.
Because that's one of his basically, there are no proper magic in this game, remember, Jova. All the special attacks are tied to the same function button, so even healing spells
healing is
are
called
counted
attack.
as that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would be a bit arbitrary to complain about that, but it seems like a bit of a weird design choice, all the same.
Yes, Pedro?
I'm more amazed by the fact that we have a female monk in the JRPG, and the designers are not taking advantage of it to use it as an excuse to have her have revealing clothes.
For what now?
Well,
Tifa.
remember,
He's
Jova,
comparing her to
monks.
Tifa.
Monks are well. I don't know too. I thought the outfit, the original outfit of Tifa was fine, honestly.
Oh, it's perfectly fine by me as well, Pedro. No, you're not gonna see me compare.
No, I mean,
that.
well, okay, fine. I mean, fine in terms of, I mean, as far as fan service the outfits go, I think Tifa's is pretty tame, honestly.
Honestly, from what I've seen, a lot of the monk characters tend to have the most conservative clothes.
I mean, the only real thing about Tifa is that she has the largest breasts in the history of mankind.
Yes, and God bless it for it.
Yeah.
I thought that was Mia.
You know, okay.
Also, Jova, I forgot what she's called. That character from Fire Emblem Fates, I think.
the
Girl
girl
who has the one who has basically she doesn't really have upper clothes. She has a sarashi, which is basically a series of bandages that act as a
bra.
Yeah, see, they function. So basically, she uses that again to maximize her agility and everything.
Yeah.
Well, the
yeah,
thing
yeah. Anyway, you know, fun fact actually about big breasts and whatnot. There's actually a common fallacy. People think that the big chest is what causes back pains. Actually, no. What causes back pains is when women hunch over to try and not make them seem so big. So in that case, then that's what causes the back pain. Modesty, go figure.
Not just that, but well, the thing is, Shiroi, as proven
Try telling that to any woman with big breasts.
Yeah,
Sorry.
like I was about to say, Jova, I'll take the opinion of an actual woman over yours. Sorry.
Wait. What do you mean over mine? What?
About
You know, but what you were saying, how it's not the boobs, it's like yes,
continue,
yes,
Pedro.
No. Seriously, look it up. That's actually a scientifically proven fact.
Whatever.
It has
Point
nothing to
is-
do with my ideal kind of woman
the
or
audience
anything.
will know the truth one way or the other. Point being, continue.
Well, the thing is here, the reason I usually give a pass to Tifa is because, as demonstrated by the way she looks in later appearances in more modern games, her body shape was more of a consequence of the limitations at the time.
Yeah.
Like for example, when you see her in Adventure, and she her body shape and breasts look normal. It was just basically a consequence of the limitations at the time. Kind of like how Lara Croft also had.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how do you explain Lara then?
Same thing.
Anyway, boss of the dungeon, just for information, it's this jumping bubbly thing. I don't even know what it's supposed to be, like a tree stomp.
That's a boss? I wouldn't be able to tell because the battle theme is not
no,
that
it
different.
is the boss theme.
Oh, really? Huh, it doesn't feel that different from the usual battle
No,
theme.
it is. There are several boss themes in this game. Again, the music in general is
okay. Now I hear. It's like, well, I mean, yeah, I could tell that it was different from the start. It's just that it didn't sound epic or whatnot, but I guess to be fair, something sounding epic or not doesn't necessarily constitute what a boss is playing, right?
There we go. Done. But this
really
also
does get all the cool stuff.
You paid dearly for that.
That's the sad thing. Due to him being stuck at level 1, you will not see that much of his special attacks. Sorry.
Eh?
At last, we
Oh,
made it.
right.
I
Let me
didn't
guess.
think we'd ever get back
Different
after we
special
fell
attacks
into
for
that
different
river.
levels.
Exactly.
But
You
that
gained up
What do you
from
mean
the
we
level.
made
seems a bit weird though. I mean, I mean, okay, I'm assuming that, you know, when he's like, you know, at the top of his game, you always get the best special attacks, or is it
Yes.
literally
The
just
more you level up, the better
The town
special
of
attacks
Andante is
become.
right under your
So
feet.
what?
And good.
So like, is it divided by, like, you know, a certain level range or whatnot with their special attacks?
No.
Or does it literally
Basically,
roll it?
they get unlocked if you reach a certain level, like say level 16 with Allegretto, you get another special attack of these, and so on.
So
They vary with each character. They vary with each character. Like Jess, for example, has the highest leading curve because his special attacks are powerful, so obviously he gets them later on. More later than the other. Anyway, one being, since Travis and Jazz are a couple, in case you haven't noticed, they reminded that a couple of times during the cutscenes, they're gonna spend some quality time at their hut, while Falsetto will show Viola and Allegretto the base of
It's right on the
Andantino.
shore of Lake Weaver. Basically, it's our hideout. It's a short walk from here.
Later.
Well, let's get going.
Anyway, basically the base of Andantino is basically in a cave. It's entirely in a cave on a vertical plane. However,
great hideouts.
yeah, basically, it's kind of like it reminds me a bit of a couple of iterations of the hideout in Sherwood Forest in Robin Hood Tales, but whatever. We'll visit it more properly in the next part. So see you for that.
See ya.
See ya.
See ya.